what does happen what's the science behind like what actually happens when let's just take something really simple. Like we may feel overwhelmed and then we go and do some sort of exercise or some activity. What physically changes in our body when that happens?
When we're feeling overwhelmed, when we are dealing with trauma, which means or chronic stress, we are already really close to our capacity for hard work, right? And then maybe you're even one of those people who's inclined to deal with stress by going to the gym rather, to like do some exercise or going for a run. But you're already so close to your threshold for stress. And then exercise, it's a great thing. We think about it, so good for you. And we think stress is bad for you, but stress is actually a neutral and exercise is a good stress. But you can go too far even with exercise. And if you are living with trauma, this might mean triggering your trauma symptoms like hypervigilance or dissociation or even flashbacks. If you are really stressed out, you're also going to bring your nervous system up more. So if you're stressed and you kind of run anxious, if you overdo it with the exercise, when you're done, you're going to feel more anxious, or you're going to be totally depleted. And all of these things don't really allow you to reap the benefits of exercise. They don't really let you process that stress, which is maybe what you were seeking to do. It's just sort of like trying to get it off of you, but you're never really dealing with it. And you sort of need to finish that experience. And in order to finish it, you have to stay with it.
So let's dig deeper into that for a second, because I feel like if somebody is overwhelmed, stressed out, and they do use, like, let's say they go, you know what, I just need to go for a run. They don't maybe know exactly how to stay with it, what you're saying. How do we make sure that we don't overdo it, or that we maybe just don't do enough? Like, how is it that we kind of do this in the right way?
Well, I always talk about this as a practice. So we'll start there. And it'd be really hard for me to sum it up real quick here. It's a process and it's a practice. We're not always going to get it right. We have to stay curious. And there are all of these different tools, but they are mindful movement. There's a lot of this is a mindfulness practice, practicing coming back to yourself and checking in with yourself. Some people, when they start working with me or start working like this, are already really able to like drop into themselves and see what's going on or practice that coming back to themselves. But most people aren't. And so we talk about all sorts of different ways to practice getting in touch with yourself. So one thing you would do, just like a practical tool for anybody who's listening, watching, when you warm up, turn that into a mindful movement practice. So just during your warm up, maybe you already have a set warm up and you do some stretches, and with the stretches, you also do some movements. If you are stretching your hamstrings, pay attention to what that feels like. Really stay with the hamstring. Or if you stretch your hamstrings by really doing something more active with another part of your body, pay attention to that muscle contraction. Pick an object of focus in your body and notice what it feels like to be with it. And this way, when you warm up, you're probably warming up. Hopefully you're warming up all the muscles you're going to use. You don't just like tie on your shoes and go for a run. You probably stretch a little bit, or if you just kind of go into it, really pay attention to feeling your feet hitting the ground. But spend those first few minutes bringing the intention, and you're starting, there you are, you're already doing the practice, right? Even thinking about doing the practice, you started the practice, which is great. These are all steps towards doing it. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, so that, in a few weeks' time, you're on this run after your stressful day at work, and you start to check into your body throughout the run automatically because you've been doing it. And you start to notice, oh, I remember last week I had this feeling, and after my run, I couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. I was just wiped. Maybe it's time to dial it back. You have to it's a process over time. We don't just jump into this and all of a sudden know where our boundaries are. It's a practice of building a relationship with everything from the neck down.